So, what is one example of how physical features impact humans? So, I want you to take a minute. You're going to go ahead and answer this. I want you also to make sure after you answer this, when you look up in your notes where we wrote down physical features, there's a spot where you should be drawing a picture of an example of a physical feature, whether it is a river, whether it is mountains, whether it is the ocean, right? I need you to draw neatly and color with some colored pencils that picture as well, okay? I want you to make sure you pause this, do both of those things. And a couple examples for you of physical features, the impacts they might have. They could create natural boundaries between regions and societies. Another example is they can provide natural resources. Remember, you only need one of these. If you wrote down one of them, you are totally good. Next is, what is one example of how cultural features impact humans? This is also in the notes up in that little box where you wrote in the fill in the blanks. Please also pause this. Make sure you have a picture drawn of one of these examples, right? Some cultural features. We said languages and dialects. We said could be food, right? Any of those examples that are in that list, please take a moment, neatly draw a picture and color with colored pencils that, and pause this. Make sure you answer this question. I'm going to wait a moment, make sure you have a moment to pause it. And remember, you only need one of these. Create political boundaries between societies. So, those cultural features, how can they impact people? Creating those political boundaries. They can define cultural basis of a society. So, that cultural foundation of a society is human constructed, right? It's going to impact how that group works together and moves forward. They can also bring people together, right? If you have stuff in common, you are likely to talk to that group of people more and work together. Some changes within geography. So, as geography changes, the demographics of an area will also shift or change. So, climate and weather can also impact geography and demographics, right? The makeup of that group of people. Erosion, flooding, tornadoes, some example, right? Other things like that that you have to talk about with weather can change the physical features of an area. Remember, erosion is when a piece of land is kind of over time just kind of shaved off, right? Little pieces of sand or dirt over time kind of disappear. And if it starts as a mountain, right, that's how we get hills. They erode slowly over time and get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Riverbanks can erode and parts of it can slowly disappear. Temperature and precipitation will also impact the availability of those resources. Think about it. Some things, right, if you go hunting, are easily available when it's warm. But in the winter, it's a little bit harder to do something like fishing if your lake is frozen, right? You can go ice fishing, but it's a lot more effort. So, temperature, weather are going to impact availability of those resources. Climate and weather, or erosion, flooding, those physical events of weather can change the physical features as well. Humans are required to interact, right? You have to interact with your environment as the geography changes. Ways of life will change dependent on the geography of an area. So, what you do to survive, what your group or your society does to live, is going to change based on what the area around you looks like. Right? If you live in the mountains, your lifestyle is going to be incredibly different than if you live in the plains where it is flat and hot. Okay? At some point, as a human, you are required to do something with your environment. The next part of your notes will be in another video.